Welcome back to One on One, New York's longest running sports call-in show. I'm Will Tallant. Joined alongside me is Lou Orlando, and we are with ESPN's New York Giants beat reporter, Jordan Raanan. Jordan, how's everything going at camp so far? How's your summer been?
Good guys, it's the summer. I mean, it's middle of the summer kind of ends for us late July, and then it's you got to get to work. The grind starts, and the season's here. So be interesting to see what this Giants team is. We're getting a little peak so far, and you know, you see some good things. Malik Nabers definitely stands out for sure. Uh, and then you could see why there's some concerns with the team as well. The depth to me is one of the things you look at. You say, what if they have a key guy get injured on the offensive line, defensive line? Are they going to be able to sustain that? Guess we'll have to find out.
So speaking of that defensive line, definitely, I would say the highlight of the Giants offseason, bringing in Brian Burns. But there's one key piece of a defense from about 3 years ago. I would say it's kind of gone under the radar uh, due to those key injuries. Had a great rookie season, and that's Azeez Ojulari. I know you tweeted something out just a few minutes ago, actually, about what Shane Bowen has in store for Ojulari. But overall, where does he fit into Bowen's scheme, and where's he at health-wise?
Yeah, the Giants are, look, Shane Bowen has made it pretty clear, and the Giants made it pretty clear he's the guy who's going to rush for. Like Wink Martindale was blitz, 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 blitz. And so this new defense is going to be a lot of rush for. And Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns are the clear-cut starters. So how do they get their best pass rushers on the field? And when we spoke to Shane Bowen, one of the things he said was, mentioning his options at the interior of the defensive line, he mentioned Azeez Ojulari, which was interesting because you look at, Giants in the past that have done it. I know Justin Tuck was a guy who did it, Matthias Kiwanuka, even JPP early in his career. Um, Robert Ayers was a guy who actually had a lot of success in the probably like around the 2014-15 season, rushing on the interior as well. He had a double sack season with the Giants at one point around there. So it seems like they have a vision, at least, of Azeez Ojulari, at least trying him there, see if he can produce there. And you're right. He had some initial success, and now it's like the last few years have been injury prone. He looks pretty good this summer, which I think is a positive sign. And the key to him is staying healthy. And so far, still good on that end.
I wanted to ask a little bit about Bowen too. Like I know we got a look at him in Hard Knocks a little bit, and you mentioned that he's going to rush for anything else that you're seeing in camp that you go, all right, this is going to be a little different than what they were doing with Wink for the last couple seasons.
I just think you're going to see more zone on the back end. The Giants playing zone. That doesn't necessarily mean, hey, they're not going to let up big plays or they're going to be great on the back end. Because if you look at Bowen at their track record in Tennessee, it was, we're going to stop the run, but we're going to, they struggled against the pass. So it'll be interesting to see how that works here because they're very, very young on the back end. But I think what we know here is he's going to rely heavily on that front. Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, as we mentioned, obviously Dexter Lawrence, and say, okay, we need you guys to get after the quarterback, to rush the passer, or to sort of probably help out the back end of the secondary. Which, I mean, you could make the argument that nobody in the Giants secondary is proven, like that they all have to prove that they're starters, high level players in this league. Like the givens are what? Deonte Banks, who's a second-year guy, and Jason Pinnock, who, last year was his first time as a full-time starter. So there's a lot of questions on that back end. They need that front, and I think that's what Shane Bowen's kind of going to rely on here, and then play zone at the back end.
There was a lot made about like Wink Martindale's departure at the end of last season. I think like the talk
Sure.
radio really had a lot about like, is this a concern for Dable or anything? I just want to know, like, are there legit concerns? I know a lot of the defensive players that are coming back, like a lot of those guys liked Martindale. Are there any concerns about just lingering tension or anything like that between players and Dable or coaching staff, stuff like that?
No, I don't think so. They overhauled the coaching staff. I mean, that's the biggest concern. There was obviously something there because when you have to overhaul your entire coaching staff after your second year as the head coach, you're like, well, what was wrong there? It'll be interesting to see from that perspective with Brian Dable. Is he able to learn from the mistakes? Like there's an optics to this thing in regards to, even when he flips the tablet at Daniel Jones, like as a head coach, you those kind of things, just it's hard. You have to be very careful. There's a perception out there of what that means, and it'll be interesting to see how he um, handles some of the things behind the scenes. And so far, so good. I mean, look, everybody. The thing is, it's early to figure out. Like, it's how does it pan out when things start going poorly? Do and this is I'm talking about behind closed doors, because this is kind of the thing with him and Wink. It was they started pointing fingers at each other, and even players were like, what the heck is going on here? The head coach is basically blaming the defense and the defensive coordinator, and the defensive coordinator is blaming the head coach and his offense. So right now everything's hunky dory. There's 0-0. Everybody in the league is thinking positively, but what happens when things start to go bad and you have to deal with adversity, which at some point in this league, you're going to deal with that throughout a season.
So shifting over to the other side of the ball now, all signs pointing to first round pick Malik Nabers being that true number one wide receiver that the Giants have really been missing probably since Odell Beckham Jr. and the first true number one that Daniel Jones has truly ever had in his career. I'm more curious to hear about how he's lined up against Wan'Dale Robinson and Jalen Hyatt, how those two have worked with Malik Nabers in terms of the receiving core, and where does Darius Slayton fit into this receiver mix?
Yeah, well, obviously, this is a big Brian Dable thing. He likes to move receivers around, put them in different spots, have them moving. A lot more. You're probably going to see a lot more motion than you have in the past. But I mean, Jalen Hyatt's perimeter receiver. That's his skill set, right? He's a deep threat outside receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson's a slot receiver. Now, that doesn't mean that Malik Nabers won't be used in the slot as well. Won't be mean that two guys, Nabers might be lined up stacked in the slot next to Wan'Dale, or they might have, trips on one side. Like, I think you're going to see these guys all over the field. And you see Darius Slayton, he kind of subs in for everybody a little bit. We're talking about a guy who, for the last 5 years, he's proven to be their leading receiver. So when all said and done, like the second Malik Nabers went down and missed a day or two of practice, Slayton's in there. He's starting at the X spot. He's alternating with Jalen Hyatt on the other side. So I think when all said and done, you're going to see Darius Slayton still play a lot of snaps. And if they're all healthy, it's probably going to be a little bit split between Hyatt and Slayton in that spot. But, Slayton will also go in when, Malik Nabers is off the field for a few snaps here or there, the 5 to 10 snaps a game. Maybe he's not on the field. So there'll be plenty of playing time. And look, I know I actually saw today that people were like, should the Giants trade Darius Slayton for like a 5th round pick? Look, Darius Slayton, they're going to need him to play a significant role at some point this season. First of all, I think he's going to play a significant role even if nobody's hurt. But you need backups in the NFL. I remember once upon a time the Giants, I think it was when they drafted Ruben Randle several years back. People were like, why are they drafting Ruben Randle? They have all these receivers. They're set at the position. Well, it turned out everybody started getting hurt. Ruben Randle was needed. Odell was drafted later on. Like, you need receivers in this league. You need weapons, especially because the Giants don't have anything proven at tight end. So as many wide receivers as possible is a good thing for this team.
We got to ask a little bit about Daniel Jones. Will knows I've been a Daniel Jones defender my entire life, basically. I love the new beard and everything. Can fans, though, will they be allowed to trust Daniel Jones again? Because I know that's been a big thing. It's been the similar story year in, year out. Are they safe to trust that maybe this is the year where it all gets put together?
Well, what are you expecting? Like, that's what I mean when I say I decided. When you say put it all together, what are you expecting? Are we expecting him to be a Pro Bowl quarterback, an All-Pro quarterback? Like, I don't know if I would go there. But can Daniel Jones be a quality, serviceable starting quarterback? I think that's what putting it all together is for him. I think that's what we look. When you're in year 6, if a guy is that dude, right? If he's going to be the kind of guy who puts you on his shoulders and carries you to the playoffs and the Super Bowl, like those kind of quarterbacks don't go for 6-11, with regularity. So now he hasn't had a great supporting cast. We know that. So the better the supporting cast, the maybe we'll see a little different Daniel Jones. But I think the 2022 version of Daniel Jones is not kind of putting it together. Now, maybe the numbers could be a little better. strictly because of the weapons that he has on the outside, and if Nabers is that guy. But still, we haven't brought up the offensive line. Like, what are they? Until we see it, can we really believe that the offensive line is fixed? I mean, how many years in a row do we sit here, we say, okay, we think they've done some stuff to fix the offensive line, and it hasn't been fixed to date.
So still lots of questions revolving around the New York Giants. Just a couple more preseason games. They will open at MetLife Stadium against the Minnesota Vikings. Jordan, thank you so much for taking the time out to chat with us. Good luck at the rest of practice, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
You got it, guys. Appreciate you.